Yeah, I don't think Mother knew about this.
Uncle Marvin was strangled by his own beard.
Yeah, you never saw it coming.
And hello, America, and welcome to America's Family History Show, Extreme Genes and ExtremeGenes.com. It is Fisher here, your radio root sleuth, on the program where we shake your family tree and watch the nuts fall out. Great guest today. We're going to have the guy on who's behind Dead Fred. If you haven't been to the Dead Fred site yet, it's a place you're going to have to check out. We've got Joe Bott on the show coming up in about 10 minutes, talking about how he founded it, what it does, what it can do for you, and how he came up with that crazy name. Then later in the show, the photo detective Maureen Taylor is back as we talk photographs again today, how you can find them, how you can make sure your unmarked photos get to somebody that they belong to, and how you can identify them. So we've got a busy day with photographs today. Hey, if you haven't signed up for our weekly Genie newsletter yet, our community just keeps on growing. You can do it on our Facebook page or extremegenes.com. It's free. You get a blog from me each week. You get links to past and present shows and links to stories you'll appreciate as a family historian. Right now, it's time to head off to Boston, Massachusetts, where David Allen Lambert is standing by, the chief genealogist of the New England Historic Genealogical Society and AmericanAncestors.org. David, how are you? Welcome back.
I am doing great. And yourself? Any adventures in the genealogical realm for you these days?
Absolutely. I'm always having them. In fact, I was in Salt Lake City just last week and had a unique experience. I went to the family history library there, and I had digitized 5 books that I had either written or had revised during the pandemic. And so I took it to the booth there, and I had the guy download them from my little thumb drive. And as I was writing down the titles on the donation slip, I wanted to make sure they matched. So I said, would you go to the title page on those books so I can make sure I have the wording just right? And he looks at the one and he goes, Spute? S-P-J-U-T? And I said, that's right. He says, are you a Spute? I said, no, my grandmother was. He says, well, I'm a Spute. Yeah, my great-grandfather was Swin. I said, well, that was my grandmother's brother. So it turned out this guy was my second cousin, once removed, and it happened to be his shift at the family history library. We've never met before. I don't even know his mother, who's my second cousin, but it was really fun. We both wanted to take a picture with one another to commemorate the event because it was really strange. But you know, Dave, these things do happen when we do this stuff, right?
Well, it's all relative, that's for sure.
Exactly.
Well, you know, I love eBay. You love eBay. And I also like to go to thrift stores occasionally because you kind of find some neat stuff. Usually I find signed books or something kind of cool. So in Austin, Texas, at a Goodwill store, Laura Young a few years ago bought for $34.99 a 50-pound marble bust of a man, and she thought it looked fairly old. Well, she was right. It's from the 1st century.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, this marble bust was lifted out of a museum in Germany. They don't know if it was from a soldier or was stolen, and a soldier bought it and brought it back to America. But anyways, it ended up in Goodwill. It's now going back over to Germany after being pilfered from a museum. It was there over 100 years ago. It was a bust of a young German man.
Wow.
So pretty neat. You never know what you're going to find out there. So any 2,000-year-old marble bust you can have for $34.99 available, please give me a call. Okay?
Yeah, right?
Well, you know, sometimes you're finding things by metal detecting or you pick it up off the ground, but reconnecting it with the family, I think, is always a special kind of magic. And this is what happened over in Cheshire, England, where a person had found a dog tag in a river. The dog tag belonged to Robert Lutgert, who was an American Air Force veteran who was stationed in the 1950s over there in Cheshire. Now, he's no longer with us, but now his family has his dog tag.
Wow, that's a great story. What fun would that be to get this thing in the mail and go, wait a minute, what? That's incredible.
Exactly. And now I guess the question is, they'll never know, is how did it get there?
Right.
Maybe he went for a swim. Well, I love stories that reconnect people, and we hear about adoption reunions all the time. But Gerda Cole, age 98, got to finally meet her daughter, who was 80 years old.
Yeah, she won a dual citizenship for Austria.
Right. And Gerda's son replied to her on Facebook because she had contacted him and because she needed the death record to complete the application. Guess what? He said, you can't have it. She's still alive. And they've finally been reunited after 80 years.
Wow.
The story basically was that her mother had been in a refugee camp in World War II. She was Jewish and had been placed into a refugee camp, and her daughter was born there and was adopted out. So they're finally connected after 80 years.
Unbelievable.
Well, speaking about 80 years ago, that was Pearl Harbor. And some of our vets are still with us, including who I think is the oldest living vet, a Pensacola, Florida man by the name of Frank Eamon, who's actually a musician on the USS Pennsylvania. He celebrated his 104th birthday. 104 is pretty old, but Juan Vicente Perez from Venezuela, Guinness Book of World Records, has him now as the oldest living male in the world. He was born the 27th of May, 1909 in Venezuela. He is the 9th child of 10. So think some of his siblings could have even been born in the 19th century. But all of those people are gone, right?
Yep.
So we thought. That
What?
was until a recent news story. Now, the jury's still out on this. Guinness hasn't confirmed this. But Johanna Mozabiku, born May 11th, 1894 in South Africa, they believe she is 128 years of age.
I got to tell you, Dave, I'm skeptical. I mean, sorry. I don't know that in my lifetime I've ever heard of anybody 128. There was that Jeanne Calment who was over in France, right?
And that was proven to be a fraud.
That was a fraud. And she was what, 120, 121, 22?
Five or so, yes,
Something like that.
125 or so, yeah.
Yeah, I mean, and they proved that wrong. So it makes you wonder, is this going to be another one of those stories? Stay tuned.
Well, that's all I have from Beantown this week. But remember, if you want to go to AmericanAncestors.org and you want to be a member, use the coupon code EXTREME and save $20 on an annual membership.
All right, Dave, thank you so much. And we will catch you at the back end of the show for another round of Ask Us Anything. But coming up next, we're going to talk to the founder of a place called Dead Fred. Yeah, it's a virtual place, but you're going to love what they do if you've never been there before. I'll be talking to the founder, Joe Bott, when we return in 3 minutes on Extreme Genes, America's Family History Show.
Unknown parentage, lineage society membership, building your family tree, leaving a legacy. Regardless of your reasons for hiring a professional researcher, Legacy Tree Genealogists can help you discover your family's past. Their genealogists are highly rated in their field with specialties in DNA analysis, historical context, and forensic genealogy. For nearly 20 years, Legacy Tree Genealogists have created thousands of professionally bound and digital reports for families like yours around the world. So whether you've hit a brick wall in your research or are just getting started, Legacy Tree Genealogists can help you tell your story and preserve it for generations to come. To receive a free estimate for professional research, visit legacytree.com or call 1-800-818-1476. That's 1-800-818-1476. We'd be happy to talk to you. Legacy Tree Genealogists.
Genies, 10 years ago, in April of 2012, when the government released the 1940 census, it took Ancestry several months to complete and review an accurate index. Fast forward to today. Using proprietary handwriting reading software, it took Ancestry only 9 days to get the job done with the 1950 census. Now, they held back results for a time for actual humans to review what the software had created. And after just a few weeks, it became obvious the software was near perfect, and the computer-generated index to 153,000 names has been released. What does this mean in your journey to research your family? It means you can search the entire database quickly and easily for your family members. Never has a U.S. Census Index been created as quickly as this. Go to Ancestry.com today, click on the 1950 census on the homepage, and see what you can discover. Hey Genies, it's Fisher here, and my shiny new ExtremeGenes.com website has been described as having that new car smell. I love hearing that. Having been with you for over 8 years now, it felt like time to help out listeners and followers who need to know the basics of genealogical research, as well as how to understand your DNA test results, and to be able to put them to work for you, breaking down brick walls, identifying birth parents, locating new cousins who may have photos and information that can't be found anywhere else, and verifying your paper trails. Yes, DNA can do all that, and I can show you how. Check out the all-new ExtremeGenes.com website and download the free Genealogy Strategy Roadmap and the free DNA Starter Guide. Then, if you like what you see, you can take those next steps to sign up for the video courses that you can watch at your leisure. I'll take you through all the basics, step by step. Find out more now at ExtremeGenes.com. And welcome back to America's Family History Show, Extreme Genes and ExtremeGenes.com. It is Fisher here, your radio root sleuth. And you know, for all the years we've been on the show, I've heard this term Dead Fred for a long time, often from Maureen Taylor, the photo detective, talking about this place where people can actually find missing relatives' photos. And it just seemed right that it was about time maybe I found out a little bit more about this on your behalf. And so we've got Joe Bott on. He is not dead. He is not Fred, but he is the founder of the site. And Joe, welcome to Extreme Genes. It's great to finally have you.
Thank you, Fisher. People call me Fred, by the way.
Do they?
Yeah, they do. They go, hey, when they write to me, they say, hey, Fred.
Yeah. Well, where did this name Dead Fred come from in the first place?
Well, I collect photographs, of course. And I saw a photo on eBay of Frederick III. Frederick III was the head of Germany, and he was dead. He was in his coffin. And I don't buy people that are dead.
Yeah, that was a thing, though, in the 19th century, wasn't it?
Yeah, well, people couldn't get to see their relatives, so they took pictures of them.
Yeah.
So my family and I were sitting around the dinner table trying to come up with ideas on what we're going to call the website. And there's like genealogy, faces, and there's any kind of number you could do, but nothing that really caught us. The mail came that day. I had bought it off eBay for $10. That was a deal. So I couldn't let it go, so I bought it. And it came to the house about the same time we're trying to figure out the name of the site. And there he was in his coffin. And one of my sons says, let's call him Dead Fred. Yeah, and that's how he got his name.
Well, it's a great hook. I mean, how can you forget the name, right?
That's right. That's good.
They won't have a difficult time remembering where to go to check out deadfred.com, right?
No, they won't. You're absolutely right.
So tell me now, you're a photo collector and you gather these things, you sort them out on your website, and I see that people can go on there and search for their relatives. You must have some amazing stories because you started this thing in what, 1998 or so?
Yes, that's right, 98. Yeah, I do. I've had a little over 3,000 reunions so far.
Wow.
And every one of them is a wonderful story, even in itself, even the ones that aren't so wonderful. Some people take it for granted. That's where you go get your ancestors' photographs. Thanks a lot. See you later. But most of them are very, very happy to get their ancestor photograph.
Sure.
Some of them cry, and it's very emotional.
Mm-hmm.
You know, before I retired, I traveled quite a bit. And I was up in Idaho, and I went into an antique shop, and inside that shop was a whole group of family photos. So I bought them, and I brought them home and put them on the website. And about 2 weeks later, a woman called me from Saskatchewan, and she said, that's my whole family.
Oh, wow.
They had picked up, and they moved down to Iowa. That was their whole family. She had it all laid out. She had all the information, but back then I was pretty stringent about making sure I got good proof that these people weren't just taking photos and selling them on eBay. So,
sure. Yeah, good point.
You know, and sure enough, there were like 22 photographs, and it was her great-greats and their relatives, all the way down cousins and uncles and whatever, and she got them. And that caused other people to come to the website.
Sure, yeah.
It was built from there.
How many photos do you have in your collection right now?
I have 11,000 that I have put on the archive. And I have another 11, 12,000 I still have to put on there yet.
This is your day job, Joe?
Yeah, my day job. That's what I do for a living. I get up in the morning, I have my coffee, I kiss my wife, we sit around, watch a little TV, and I head downstairs and I scan until nap time.
Oh, my gosh, you must have a really good back.
I do. I'll tell you. Then I could do the same thing again. I've been scanning photos now since I retired, and even before, of course, but more vigorously now that I have more time.
Sure.
And I get photos all the time. I get photos every week from people who have photos. They don't know who they are. One person sent me a bunch of photos they found in the trash. That makes me sick. I can't understand why people would throw their photographs out. I got 2 photo albums from a family up in Hampton, New Hampshire. Names were Godfrey. And I came in the mail with no return address. And the 2 albums represented the family's life from the 1850s to the 1920s.
Oh, wow.
And that's on the archive. You can search it.
Mm-hmm.
Just type in Godfrey, Hampton, New Hampshire, or just New Hampshire, and you'll see them. I have another story. I was at a national genealogy show several years back in Austin, Texas, and I met a lady by the name of Marge Rice. We got talking, and boy, we hit it off because we had the same passion. She was a genealogist. God bless genealogists. They have an amazing amount of patience and integrity of digging down and finding out information.
Yeah.
And she did the same thing, but what she did was she followed it. Mark said to me at that show, first time I met her, I'm going to leave you my photographs when I die. I said, well, that's nice. You don't have to do that. But no, I want to do it. I said, okay. Well, several years later, I got a phone call from her daughter. She had died, and she left me her photographs. I live in Arkansas. I rented a van, and I drove from Arkansas to Joliet, Illinois, where they lived, and I loaded it up. 7 big boxes full of photographs.
Oh, wow.
And every one of those photographs had the full genealogy of each one of those people in there. I was totally flabbergasted.
Yes, I would be too.
As a matter of fact, I'm looking at a box right now, and I have 2 boxes left to do before I'm done posting. So if any of your listeners want to go on my website, you'll see a keyword search down near the bottom of the front page.
Yep.
Type in Marge Rice, and you'll see how many photos I've posted so far.
That's unbelievable. Now, you have also a large community on Facebook as well. Tell me about what this group is engaged in when they're talking with you.
Okay, well, it's not just genealogy, not just photographs.
Sure.
It's genealogy and history.
Mm-hmm.
So I put a lot of history up there, but I also put a lot of photos up there. We talk about the photos that I have on my website. I give them a link to go to it. I explain to them how to use the site. But we also talk about the photos that I have. There might be a photo of a lady that I have all her albums. She died a few years ago. Her name was Mary Evangeline Elpers from Logansport, Indiana. And she was a designer. She lived here all her life. She showed her life through her photographs. She's very artistic. I hooked up with a person through my Facebook page who also got all her drawings for her dresses that she drew. She designed dresses.
So this is good visual stuff that ties to family history, all of it.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Here I am searching the photos, and here's somebody else over here that's searching her other accomplishments. And we hook up, and we both have the same passion for that same person, but in different ways.
Sure.
The Facebook page I started in order to bring people into my website.
Sure, of course. I wanted to ask you, Joe, what's the most unusual photograph you've ever come across? One you tell everybody about, you're not going to believe this.
I got a guy on my website. It's not so much the photograph, it's the name.
Okay.
His name is Orange Lemon.
I like that, okay.
I have a couple of brothers that are from New South Wales that are very odd-looking people, and I get a lot of comments about them. But I can tell you the name of the very first person I found and got the website started.
Okay.
It was Gregson, Grigson. Grigson.
Grigson, okay.
Grigson. I had a picture of the mother and a baby. I was laid up for 4 months with a pretty bad illness. So my wife bought me a computer to get her out of her hair. She did a good job because I labeled my collection and pulled this photo out. It had all this information. And I was able to track down the baby and the mother on the photo and able to connect with the son of the baby.
Oh, wow. That's fantastic.
And I was able to get in their photograph. Well, that really turned my head.
Sure.
I'll tell you, I go, wow, look at that.
Yeah.
And there wasn't, at the time, this is 98, there wasn't, that I could find, any comprehensive collective on photographs, especially with ancestors photographs. So I said, here I have 5,000 photographs. And what if I took all the ones that have names and information, and I separate them out from the ones that have no information whatsoever? And I hired a company to build me a website. And I did that. And I was able to put up the ones that had the information, the photographer's name, the person's name, the location.
Sure.
Any small piece of information. Even a sign that's hanging behind them outside that says, Drexel Drugs, Hoboken, New Jersey.
Mm-hmm.
It puts them in a place. So I went ahead and had them put up. This is a free website. It's free to use. And when we send the photo to you, you don't pay anything. We just don't feel it's right to sell people their
own pictures, yeah.
Their own pictures, right.
He's Joe Bott. He is the founder of Dead Fred. If you're looking for an ancestral photograph, why not start right there? Go to deadfred.com and check it out. And Joe, thanks so much for what you're doing. I love finding passionate people who are deep in the weeds in whatever aspect of helping people find their family story. Thanks so much.
Thank you very much, Fish.
And speaking of photographs, the photo detective Maureen Taylor joins us here in 5 minutes, talking about not only Dead Fred, but an amazing new technology out to help you find more pictures. Is it a good thing or a bad thing? She'll tell you what it is, where to find it, coming up on Extreme Genes, America's Family History Show. All right, we're back on Extreme Genes, America's Family History Show on extremegenes.com. Fisher here, the radio root sleuth, with my good friend Maureen Taylor, the photo detective. It seemed like a natural follow-up to talking about Dead Fred and Joe Bott. And Maureen, it's great to have you back on the show. It's been a while.
It's great to be on the show, Scott. It's been months, I think, since we've spoken.
Yes, and Joe's been a friend of yours for some time. Dead Fred has been a great asset for people in the photo world.
Oh, no doubt about it. I mean, Joe Bott of Dead Fred is one of the original photo reunion people. I'm not sure if he mentioned this in his interview or not, but I saw it on Facebook recently that he has right now 11,000 photographs to enter onto the site.
Yeah, he mentioned this. I mean, it's just thousands of them, and they just keep growing, and he gets these collections, and he's going to be keeping this going until the day he drops himself.
I know. He loves it. Instead of the way a lot of these new photo reunion people are working, where they buy a photograph and then they do all the research online in the databases and then send it to the person, this is in your control. You can go to Dead Fred and do the searching, and there's so many things that you can use it for. You can search by photographer. You can search by mysteries. You can just do amazing things on Dead Fred. It has stood the test of time.
Absolutely. Well, it was great to have him on. It's great to have you on, too, because I wanted to talk to you about this whole thing that's coming up now about facial recognition in photography. And it's getting a little bit different. It's going in directions I don't think we anticipated, and it's happening everywhere, and it can be really helpful for us, too.
Yeah, I mean, let's talk about the positive first.
Sure.
Right? It's built into a lot of photo organizing programs now. Like MemoryWeb, for instance, has facial recognition. If you have more than 3 photographs of a person, it will start prompting you if they think you have other photos of the same person that you haven't tagged yet. So that's a huge positive.
Right.
The negative is people often look like other people. So a friend of mine got pinged by Facebook, and it said, it's your anniversary of having been in New Orleans. And he goes, I haven't been to New Orleans in years. He goes, but my brother went, and he showed it to me. And it's like, sure enough, there was his brother in New Orleans. So Facebook got a little confused. They do look a little bit alike. And that was a problem. You know, these image reverse searching sites, I guess you want to call them.
Yeah, how's this work?
So for years, I've used a site called TinEye, TINEYE.com, and you can search it. And so what I usually do with these reverse image search engines is I use my headshot.
Sure.
Because it's a good test. I've got decades of lecturing all over the place. I'm buried on websites all over. So this is a good test. How good is this search engine? So I use it on TinEye, and I only came up with 7 hits.
Okay. And how much does TinEye cost, by the way? Is there a subscription?
TinEye is free.
Okay.
TinEye is free. So then you can use, of course, images.google.com. A lot of people use this to try to figure out things that are in photographs, for instance, buildings and bridges and all of that.
Wow.
I haven't found it as helpful as some other people in our field have. And so on images.google.com, I uploaded the same headshot that I did for TinEye, and I got 209 results.
Wow. That's a lot more than TinEye.
Exactly. So it pulls up things like when I spoke at the Historical Society of Pennsylvania in 2016, my website, Facebook, other little sites that I have written for, Twitter, YouTube, but also other places that I've spoken pop up.
Okay.
And so wherever someone has used my headshot to advertise an event, then it pops up.
And that's pretty easy, really, if you're matching the same picture to the same picture, right?
Yeah, but it's a test,
sure,
right? And
of course.
so this matches exactly.
Right.
It's always the same headshot. But then I read just recently an article on CNN, and there's a woman who used to work for Apple, and she started testing this new website called PimEyes, PIMEYES.com.
Okay.
And she found some stuff from her past that she thought was gone, and this can happen to a lot of people. But also, she tweeted back in January that in Facebook of October 2021, she'd been tagged in an old-looking black and white photograph, like a vintage photo.
Really?
Of a man and a woman. And it had been posted to Facebook by, she says in the article, a friend of a friend who she is distantly related to. So at the time, she was like, what is this? And then she did a lot of research on Ancestry.com and discovered that this photograph actually depicts her great-great-grandmother, who, of course, she must be a doppelganger for.
Wow. That's crazy.
I know, it's crazy. So then I thought, well, what is PimEyes? Let me try it. So I used the exact same headshot that I used on TinEye and in images.google.com, because that's my test set.
Yeah.
And it popped up 194 results in 2.33 seconds.
That's insane. That's really good.
Well, what's really insane is it popped up my old headshots from like 2000.
Okay.
Other sort of candid shots, other speaking engagements, wherever any of these headshots had occurred. But it's not just the same headshot. It's all these different headshots that I've used over the years all popped up.
Okay, so it covered a much wider time span.
Much wider. There was only, on the first page, only one face that popped up that wasn't me.
Really? Okay, out of 190-something.
Yeah. So
Wow.
193 of the 194 were me.
And did you find that the person who was not you, did they resemble you pretty closely?
Yes, actually, she does. We had sort of the same haircut. You know, glasses can definitely skew facial recognition software, as can beards and stuff like that. But, yeah, she does sort of look like me. I clicked on it, but then I discovered that PimEyes is not free.
Okay. What's that cost?
There's a price range here. It starts at $29.99 a month.
Okay.
And goes up to, are you ready for this? $299.99. So almost $300 a month.
What?
Yeah. And it does deep searching, which I don't know what that means, and then you can export it and stuff like that for all of that. But who needs that? But
well, maybe the police. I don't know.
I don't know. Perhaps they do. But facial recognition is not 100%. Let's just start with that.
Of course.
And you can use sites like TinEye and PimEyes and images at google.com, maybe not so much. But people who lift photographs that people have put online, whether they have permission to or not, can search these sites using that image and find out if it's appeared anywhere else. Now, I haven't done this with any of my ancestral photographs, but you certainly can.
Sure.
It doesn't have to be a contemporary photograph.
Right. No, that'd be interesting to see if somebody else may have posted a different picture of your ancestor. So if you had a decent portrait of somebody from way back in the day, maybe there's another one out there that you could find.
Yeah. Or there could be multiple copies of the same image, but you don't know it.
Yeah, that's true, too, because if you have a kind of a beat-up one, maybe you'll find a cleaner one.
Yeah, I haven't tried it with any of my historical family photographs yet, but it would be interesting to see what pops up.
Well, see, this is why you are the photo detective. This is all new stuff to me. I haven't heard of TinEye or PimEyes, and I've never been to images.google.com, but you've intrigued me because it sounds like another way to break open some challenging puzzle pieces.
You have to try everything.
Sure. Absolutely. Although I must say it sounds kind of scary, right? Like you said, that there was somebody who had something from their past show up that they didn't want to see. It makes you wonder what pictures might be out there that you just wish weren't out there at all.
Well, you never know. But I think there are definitely genealogy applications for this type of thing.
Absolutely. She is the photo detective, Maureen Taylor. You can follow her at maureentaylor.com. Maureen, thanks for coming on.
Thank you, Scott. There's always new stuff to talk about.
Yes, there is. David Allen Lambert returns in moments as we get on with Ask Us Anything on Extreme Genes, America's Family History Show, in 3 minutes. Hey Genies, Ancestry now has an exclusive partnership with PhotoMine, the leader in photo scanning and archiving. What does this mean to you? Well, imagine inheriting an old photo album and you want to digitize all the images. Up until now, you'd have to remove the pictures, place them in a scanner, crop them, and perhaps use Photoshop to improve them. Now, by using these amazing PhotoMine tools from Ancestry, you can use your phone to take a picture of an entire page from your album. The tools will automatically separate and crop each picture, improve focus, and restore color or colorize your images. Then you can assign which picture goes to which person on your tree. If you've been waiting years to get around to the tedious project of scanning your old albums, it's been worth the wait. No more pulling your photo albums apart and trying to reinsert the pictures back in proper order. No more tearing of your old photos while removing them from those so-called magnetic albums of the 1970s. Sign in to Ancestry through their mobile app to try it out.
Unknown parentage, lineage society membership, building your family tree, leaving a legacy. Regardless of your reasons for hiring a professional researcher, Legacy Tree Genealogists can help you discover your family's past. Their genealogists are highly rated in their field with specialties in DNA analysis, historical context, and forensic genealogy. For nearly 20 years, Legacy Tree Genealogists have created thousands of professionally bound and digital reports for families like yours around the world. So whether you've hit a brick wall in your research or are just getting started, Legacy Tree Genealogists can help you tell your story and preserve it for generations to come. To receive a free estimate for professional research, visit legacytree.com or call 1-800-818-1476. That's 1-800-818-1476. We'd be happy to talk to you. Legacy Tree Genealogists.
Genies, if you haven't done so yet, you've got to check out Ancestry.com's new Storytelling Creation Center, Ancestry Stories. Their story builder allows you to create a story with 6 different slide types, including a title page, a photo display page, including stock pictures they provide, and documents. And you can write a summary. And with those photos, you can add motion, panning left to right or right to left. For now, these stories can only be created on your iPhone, but Android is still to come and can be saved to your your ancestors' pages on your trees. You can then access via phone, and in time, it'll appear on your desktop. You can also share it with family members and friends, whether or not they subscribe to Ancestry.com. For the younger generation that wants stories in a quick and easy-to-consume form, you can't beat this. I've already shared a story with my family, and the reactions are remarkable. Try out these incredible new tools and share your new story creations on social media using hashtag #MyAncestryStory. All right, Dave is back for Ask Us Anything on Extreme Genes, America's Family History Show, and extremegenes.com. And Dave, our first question today comes from Clay in Deerfield Beach, Florida. And he says, hello, Fisher and Dave. My dad was in the Vietnam War. How could I locate some of his old buddies to surprise him for his upcoming 80th birthday? Wow, that's a good question. And there's a lot of meat to chew on with this one, Dave.
Yeah, I mean, if it was a World War II veteran who's turning 100, I could say there's a variety of different things. And, of course, sadly, less likely you're going to find them. But some of the guys he served with, probably in his 70s, maybe even a little older than him. The first thing I would do is personally create a social media Facebook group. If Dad's not on Facebook, because you don't want to break the surprise, but you could create, like, looking for veterans of the 122nd Brigade that was in Vietnam in 1967 to 69, something like that.
Right.
In that way, it's also searchable on Google. As long as you make that group not private, you can actually get Google to catch it, and then it may be searchable. Now, I hope his birthday isn't next week, because that could take a little while. The other thing is, if you go back through your dad's scrapbooks or something like that, you may find them. I'd say Google searching may work because somebody may have an anniversary and maybe mentioned in it. Hopefully you're not finding just obituaries, but that's one way of doing it. VFWs are another great way. If your dad's lived in the same area and maybe he had some buddies that attended the same VFW or American Legion, these are places that may be able to connect and help you locate some of the other veterans he served with.
Well, I would say, though, that we could even simplify this further, because maybe Dad has been in touch with some of these guys over the years, and all you really need is one that you find, and then you could network with that person maybe to find one or two others, and maybe those one or two others can add a few more to the list. And you can do that often by getting the one name from Dad, or maybe from his address book or whatever he has kept from back in the day, and you can look this person up using a site called familytreenow.com. And this is just a fabulous place for getting email addresses, current phone numbers. A lot of information is found there on living people. And if you can get that one person and get them on board, maybe it's something where you just can create a video that can be shared. You know, they get one of their kids or grandkids to video a little greeting, and you send these things all off to you, and you can put it together in one big thing and shock the heck out of your old man.
I think that he will be delighted, and I think that the nice thing about this is you're going to probably even get some stories. Maybe they have photos, or do some oral history. Interview Dad and get some of the facts now, and those are clues for your project.
Yeah, that's a really good idea. And you could also, as you say, get the oral history by having him do maybe a live video chat with some of these folks that you find. And there are ways to record those things, too. And so you put that all together. This could be something that would turn into much more than just a birthday greeting from some old colleagues. This could turn into, like you say, Dave, all the old stories that will survive your father and be passed down for generations to come.
That's very true. Unfortunately, the thing about Vietnam era research is the ones that you're going to find online are going to be people in the 1950 census when they're kids.
Yeah.
The 1970 won't be out for 20 years now.
Yeah.
And the problem is a lot of the databases for Vietnam are for those that perished, like the Vietnam Memorial is virtual and online. People that died in Vietnam during the war are going to be memorialized, and maybe pages, find a grave, billion graves, interment.net. Maybe part of the story is getting your dad the knowledge that that buddy is gone now.
Great thought there, Dave. So thank you so much for the question, Clay. Hope that works out for you, and good luck with that 80th birthday. And we got another question from a listener coming up next when we return in 3 minutes on Extreme Genes, America's Family History Show. All right, back for our final question and our final segment this week on Extreme Genes, America's Family History Show, and extremegenes.com. Fisher here, David Allen Lambert over there. And this question, Dave, comes from San Diego. Leah is writing, and she says, "Hi, guys. I recently learned that I have a half-brother living just 32 miles from me. I know his name, his address, and phone number. I would like to connect with him, but I'm nervous. Suggestions, please." Leah. Boy, that's a tough one.
That really is, and it's always hard to know how that's going to go.
Sure.
Now, with me, with my half-sibling, it went fairly well. She was nervous. She reached out to me, and I was kind of shocked, and it took me a while to digest it. It actually took me a couple of weeks to digest it and kind of wrap my head around it.
I remember that, yeah.
But I mean, we're close now, and and I've got another sister, and I've got a nephew because of it. It could also go badly. How is this person connected, I guess, is the bigger question. Sure. I have for Leah. Was he put up for adoption? Is this something you found out through DNA? Was there an affair? So there's a variety of different ways, and you do need to be sensitive that it could go south, or you could find your next best friend in this new sibling,
Yeah, well, it could be. And, the idea of a best friend might not be a bad idea. Use an intermediary to reach out to this person is one way to approach it. I will say, though, and I've said this many, many times on the show, most of these situations turn out positive. I helped a friend of mine through her DNA identify both of her birth parents. She was adopted, and she found out she had a half-sister on her mother's side and a half-brother on her father's side. And both of them now have a great relationship with her, and it has been 7 years. They've had family gatherings together. She's exchanged gifts with the kids, and it's been a real change in her life as a result of all this. So you can also think of it in terms of you might be doing this guy a favor, too, to say, hey, you've got another family out there. It's possible, maybe even likely, that he already knows that he had a birth family out there. And sure. He may have wondered his whole life who everybody was. So, this is something that might make him a little bit nervous as well. So, you just might want to step up to the plate and take your best shot, and also try to protect yourself a little bit by realizing, okay, this may take some time because you've had the opportunity to digest the fact that you have this half-brother. In the case I talked about a minute ago here, the brother dove right in, but the sister was just in shock because she was her mom's best friend and didn't realize mom had given up a baby. Mom had never told her before. But after she had the chance to digest that, she came around. And now the relationship is real sweet, and that may be the case here as well. So allow a little time for this person to take that information in. And if you're too nervous, like we say, use an intermediary.
That's very true. I think the thing about these type of reunions is that if you give them all the facts all up front, it may be too much information unless they ask for it. But also, if you are kind of beating around the bush and someone thinks it's a scam or not real, that could be a problem too. So you really have to weigh out your decisions on what you want to tell them that is at least going to anchor the fact you're not a fraud, but you're not going to overload them with details that may cause them to be like, this is too much, I don't want to be involved, and they push out of the situation. Fisher, the people that you've dealt with, did it go well?
Yeah, for the most part. I can't think of one that didn't, really.
Good.
Now, I've heard about others through friends who have had people have a situation go sideways, but you just got to protect yourself a little bit and maybe anticipate the worst, but the best usually works out that way. So great question. Thanks so much for asking it, and good luck with your project. Dave, thanks so much for your time. We'll talk to you again next week.
I look forward to it, my friend.
All right. And thanks so much to our guest today, Joe Bott from Dead Fred. Go to deadfred.com and find out how to deal with your unmarked photographs from way back when. And, of course, to the photo detective Maureen Taylor for coming on the show this week. We will talk to you again next week. And remember, as far as everyone knows, we're a nice, normal family.